My mind is upset. I can change my mindset. Do not be thrown offset. Rumor time, reset. Rumor time.
Welcome to the Access RUMERTIME Conversations podcast. My name is Dr. Yvonne Murray-Larrier, and with me I have Jonathon Wolford Hunt. Jonathon has recently had an experience with the COVID-19, or as we're calling it, the coronavirus. And I'm going to ask him to kind of introduce himself.
Well, okay, my name is Jonathon. I am 18 years old. I'm a freshman in college. This year I had the opportunity to do my freshman year in an ACA program based in Florence, Italy. It was a great experience. I loved every second of it. We were able to do outreach programs and all sorts of things, and I really felt like it was a really good opportunity for me to grow. Unfortunately, it was cut short by the outbreak of corona. That's why I am currently in quarantine. I did not come in contact with the virus, but because of the situation in Italy, as well as the places I was in to get back, I have been placed in quarantine. Other than that, I like playing music. I like art. I love food. That's me.
That's you. That's you. Yeah. The whole journey from Italy to back to the US and into quarantine. How is this impacting him? How is this impacting you socially and emotionally? And so he said Jonathon likes to play music, and he wrote a song, and you will hear the song at this point.
D-O-R-O-N-A, Corona. Listen to me, I'm trying to tell you the virus is right out there to get you. So wash your hands and stop touching each other.
The coronavirus is spread through the nation. Got so bad that it stopped education. The young and old and the brave and bold are all taught the value of sanitation. Got hand sanitizer on site. If you breathe on me, we gon' have to fight. Got so many vitamin C pills all in my system that I start to glow in the night.
Now I'm in quarantine for a while. Not another person in 20 months. I need to see the stupid virus go away, so I can go outside and see the light of day. D-O-R-O-N-A, Corona. Listen to me, I'm trying to tell you the virus is right out there to get you. So wash your hands and stop touching each other. C-O-R-O-N-A, Corona. Listen to me, I'm trying to tell you the virus is right out there to get you. So wash your hands and stop touching each other.
Jonathon, the song is an outgrowth or result of your experience, and you call the song. What's the title of the song?
The title is Quarantine.
Quarantine. Very appropriate for what is the journey. Italy was cut short because of COVID. Thinking, and what were your friends' outbreak occurred?
Throughout the last semester of ACA in Italy, the outbreak of corona had started to spread, and we were aware of it. But in Italy, I suppose the mass hysteria and the type of anxiety that came along with the idea of Corona was not necessarily there.
So people were
And
calm. Is that what you're saying? People were kind of calm.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
people weren't really as, I don't know, scared about it. The center of Florence is full of tourists and exchange students and all sorts of people. So the people who were coming to visit weren't really focused on Corona. They were focused on, experiencing as much as they could experience while they were there. And the natives there weren't really all that worried about it either, because the health system over there is very good.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't just something that was at the forefront of their thoughts at the moment. So you only start to see visual changes near the end of this semester for me.
Okay.
I think it started when there was a case in, I believe it was Venice, when they started finding cases in Venice. And it was actually the day before they closed down the Venice Carnival. And we were in the Venice Carnival the day before, and we left, and the day after they shut down. And after that, you started seeing changes, because Italy, the Venice Carnival is a big thing. It's the equivalent, I don't know, maybe of like the NFL, like the Super Bowl.
Okay.
For Venice. And each region has a different big event that they do. In Venice, it's the Venice Carnival.
Okay.
And
so they were,
when that got shut down, it was more of a hit to Italy. I think Italy finally kind of started realizing how bad it was. At least in my experience.
Right. And that's what I want you to share, your experience. Yeah. Oh, wow. So that's when you started, after you guys came back from the carnival and they shut down. So that was what day? How many days is the carnival?
I believe the carnival goes on for a weekend or maybe a little bit longer. I'm not sure the exact how long it is, but the day before it closed down, we were there taking pictures, throwing graffiti, also like it was
just
great.
having fun. Just having fun.
Just having fun. And then the next day we get back home and we hear it's been shut down because of Corona. Yep.
And so that's kind of part of your song too, right? I think one of the part of the tune says Corona, something.
Yeah, I'm just basically elaborating on, the different dangers of Corona.
Right. So, okay, so you guys get back to campus and now places are shutting down.
Yes, the Venice Carnival shut down and different other regions started shutting down. And that's when schools started pulling their students out of the ACA program. And that's when it started becoming, much more real to the students at ACA.
Okay.
Because, places were shutting down and some of our trips were influenced by the fact that these places were shut down. But we always had each other. We had a group. This was the largest group of ACA students that they've had, like, ever. We had over 40 students.
Oh, wow.
On the ACA campus, as well as the seminary students that were Italian or from other places.
Right. Okay.
So even though the places were shutting down around us and we were aware of it, it never really, affected us the same way until schools started taking their students out and we started seeing our numbers dwindle.
Oh, wow. And so this was the beginning of your friends, people going separate ways. What did you guys know? Or did you just know, okay, this is a virus like what most people know?
I think it was general knowledge that this is a virus that targets people with pre-existing conditions, and that us as youth, it really didn't present an immediate threat to us. Okay. But one thing that was going through a lot of the students' minds, even though it didn't cause an immediate threat to us, a lot of the students were worried that they would get stuck in Italy and that they wouldn't be able to go and see their loved ones and family back in the USA. So it wasn't necessarily the fact that the virus was a threat to them. It was that they may not be able to be with their family at this time.
Okay. So the social component of it was kind of sinking in.
Yeah. Not only that, but there were students who did want to go home because they wanted to be with their family. But then there were also students who did not want to go home. They felt safer in Italy. They felt that although it was an issue, it didn't present enough of an issue for them to want to leave all the connections that they've made and all the good experience that they've had. They didn't want to cut that short because of something that may be threatening.
Right.
So you had a broad spectrum of emotions happening at that college.
Right. So the mixed emotions, anxiety about not their own well-being, but their family's well-being back in the U.S.
Yeah.
The connections that are going to be disrupted because just being leave immediately. So those were some of the factors that started becoming very present in you guys' minds. So some people wanted to leave, some people wanted to stay because they felt, different levels of safety or anxiety or connectedness. Do you want to share what your position was, or you don't have to?
Well, my position was, although I do love my family immensely, I was fully prepared to wait it out in Italy, not because of any lack of information about how bad it was, or because of Corona, or me not, I don't know, fearing Corona. I know the full extent of what Corona can do, but my experience in Italy was just so fantastic. I didn't want to have to leave that prematurely if it was not necessary. So I said to myself that the only reason why I would leave the college was if Andrews, which is my home college, were to pull us out. Like the other colleges, because some neighboring college, Oakwood, Southern, a lot of these other schools were pulling their students out, but Andrews was waiting it out. So I thought to myself, if Andrews pulls me out, then I guess I was supposed to go. But I wouldn't want to leave prematurely if Andrews was pulling me out. That's where I was.
How many other students were from Andrews that you were going to stay there, that was going to stay there with you?
In all, there were 5 students from Andrews to start out with, 1 left at the end of the second semester before Corona broke out. And there was, I believe, 4 of us there when Corona broke out, 2 of which left before the last flight of Italy. And 2 of us, me and another student, student and I, left on the last flight out of Italy.
Okay. What was that like, Jonathon? What was that? What kinds of thoughts and emotions were going through your mind when you and this other student were leaving on the last flight out of Italy? That just sounds like it should have some kind of music that you see in one of those big drama movies, to go with it. It's like, this is the last flight out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that like? What were your thought processes and your emotions? What was going on?
Well, it all started out the night before. We were all in our rooms about to go to Vespers, and we all get a text. Well, actually, we all go to Vespers, and we have a meeting with the ACA director. And the director goes on FaceTime or Zoom and basically tells us that ACA will be shutting down the school in Italy, and we all need to be prepared to leave. And that was a very emotional meeting, because previously lots of students had left, and it was a small group, maybe about 15, 16 of us left in comparison to the 40 that were there before. And we were all pretty torn up about it because the people who were left were the ones who really truly wanted to stay. And so after that, we all kind of dragged ourselves back up to our rooms and, licked our wounds per se. And about an hour or so after that, we all get a text saying we need to pack our bags because we leave the next morning at 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And no one could believe what they were texting. So everybody started blowing up the chat. Like, what do you mean we leave at 5 in the morning tomorrow? We didn't know we were leaving at all. And they basically paid for all of our flights out of Italy, including baggage, and said that you guys need to be on the plane at 5 and you guys will be flying back through Rome to New York. We'll get a hotel in New York, and then you guys will go to your separate colleges.
Oh, wow.
And we were all just shocked. We didn't know it. I mean, people were speechless. There was crying. The Italian students that were going to stay there came out of the rooms. We're all, hugging each other outside. It was a very emotional thing. But me personally, it was just all so quick that the emotions didn't necessarily hit me yet. I was still in shock. Like, are you serious? We're leaving tomorrow at 5. I haven't packed. I don't have, I'm not ready for this. This is a lot. So for me personally, the emotions weren't there, but we all got ourselves together and threw our stuff in our bags and were ready at 5. At that moment, we did not know this was the last flight out of Italy.
Okay.
So we were sad and we were confused, but we didn't know the gravity of the situation. So we had gotten to Rome. Oh no, till we had gotten to New York. We were on our flight from Rome to New York. And we got off the flight and we started hearing what President Trump had put out, that, they're closing things, the borders to flights from Europe and stuff. And then when we checked the news back in Italy, this was the last flight out of Italy and the last flight out of Rome. And then it all kind of sunk in why it had all happened so quickly and why it was so dire for us to get out. It didn't really make us feel any better per se to, say, oh, okay, yeah, it was the last flight. But it kind of added context to the situation.
Right. Whoa. And so some strong emotions. So you were operating on adrenaline, trying to get packed, and so the emotions were not at a conscious level. You were just using those emotions, as unconscious as they were, to fuel your packing and getting yourself ready to get on that flight at 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Previous to that, my parents had actually already tried to figure out ways for me to get out, because the difference between what was happening in Italy and America. In America, it seems that the coronavirus and the spread of it in Europe had been highly publicized and dramatized, that's the word. To the point where people in America were just like, oh, the entirety of Europe is going to go down in flames. It's just blowing up right now. And it's completely different to how we were feeling in Italy, because as I said, everybody knew how bad it was, but at least on our campus, there was no panic per se. We were just, oh, it's there, but we'll be fine. So my parents, being in America, had already booked a ticket for me to get out. So I was already, coming to terms with the fact that, this has been great, but, I guess I'm going to have to go. And then it hits me sooner than I thought. And I was just like, I have no idea how to handle this, but I didn't have time to break down and, fully grasp all of it, because, as I said, 5 o'clock the next morning, I was out of it.
Yeah. So, you had to get yourself ready and sort it out. Yeah. And so then you got into the US. When you were traveling, let me ask you a question. When you were traveling from Italy to Rome, then to New York, were people talking, people sitting next to you? Did you guys get to sit next to each other? If you didn't, did you hear conversations about coronavirus and when you guys got to the checkpoints like customs and immigration in maybe in Rome and definitely New York, were people treating you all differently? Did you feel stigmatized? Did you feel ostracized? What was that like?
Well, on our flight from Florence to Rome, it was not a long flight, and we got on the plane, and we did not get screened for corona, but everybody on the flight, I felt, knew that, we were all leaving because of the same reason. that, corona's getting pretty bad and we got to get out. When we were on our flight from Rome to New York, though, Rome was one of the major hotspots for corona. It was ranked up there with the original province back in, I believe, China. So in Rome, we got screened twice to check our temperature as well as any other things to give any indication of if we had corona. So there, I definitely felt a feeling of, a little bit more anxiety. Everybody was, washing their hands extra clean when I didn't want to be next to each other. The people in the airport were screaming, keep distance, because in the airport it's very crowded. So everybody's, trying to get their bags, and there's a hustle and bustle, and everybody was doing their best to, not get that contact. And I definitely felt a difference between how it was in Rome and how it was in Florence. But an interesting thing that I felt was when we left that area of Rome, where it seemed like this thing became real, we went to New York, and we all but walked into America. There was no screening. There was no mass hysteria. We got off the flight. We grabbed our bags. We walked. They asked, do we have anything to declare? We said no. And they said, welcome to America.
Oh, my God.
And we walked out. And I mean, there's 15 of us students coming from one of the major hotspots of corona. And they
just said, welcome to America.
There was no anxiety. There was no anything. They said, welcome to America. And even after that, we were all standing outside almost perplexed because we had come from an area where we weren't worried about corona. Then we went to Rome, where it became real and we were all slightly worried about corona. And then we got back to America, and they said, welcome to America. And it's as if nothing happened.
There's what are you talking about? Corona? What?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was definitely challenging for us because we had been pulled out for
corona,
the reason that corona was an issue, and it seemed as if there was such a variety in feelings towards this corona, and maybe it wasn't all that bad, and maybe we didn't have to be. So there was
some confusion in your emotions and in your thoughts, right? Because you're like, what the heck is this? I thought y'all disrupted my amazing time in Italy as a student to come, and now I'm standing here in America that said you'd be closing down the schools in Italy, and all the hype then to come and be able to just be.
Yeah, it was definitely challenging for not only me, but definitely the other students as well. There was lots of conversation and lots of confusion. We were all pretty confused as to what just happened.
Yes. I could see that. I could absolutely see that. But I think like after you guys came, I think a day or two later is when they started screening. I think they started screening, sometime over the weekend.
Yeah, I think I heard that as well.
And so which is causing a lot of backup in the airports in the US. So welcome to America. So you're back here and you get into your hometown and you carted off to an undisclosed location for to be in quarantine for 14 days. What?
Yes,
I have never been in quarantine, and I'm sure you haven't either. This is your first time.
Yeah, this is my
What
first time.
is this experience like, Jonathon?
Well, I guess it's different for everybody because for people who came back before, they were allowed to do home quarantine. Of course, it's depending on your family situation. But most people did home quarantine. But for me, I did not have the opportunity to do home quarantine because, my mom needs to work, my dad needs to work, my sister's in the household as well. And if I were to go home, they would all have to be in quarantine.
Yep. Them and their friends.
Yes, everybody in Barron Springs would have to be in quarantine. So Andrews provided me with a area to be quarantined in. And I guess my situation is a little bit different because with home quarantine, you feel as if, even though you are in your house and stuck in your house, you are in your house. This is a little bit different because this is not my house. This is not necessarily my home. So the feelings are a little bit different. When I first got here, I took a deep breath and said, wow, this is about to be 14 days. That's incredible.
This is about to be 14 days. What adjective would you describe in this is about to be 14 blank, what kind of days? Make it clean, as I know you will. This is about to be 14
interesting.
Interesting days, yes.
I didn't have completely negative thoughts about it because I saw this as an opportunity to do things maybe that I didn't get to do, mourn by myself about the fact that I did not get to stay in Italy, as well as work on some of the other things I'd like to work on. But there was definitely a feeling of uncertainty because, you just came back to, Barron Springs, which is nothing like the Central Florence. And on top of that, now you are not even allowed to go into Barron Springs. You are stuck in a room. So it was a lot of feelings circulating, but right now I'm on day 4, I believe, of quarantine. And I don't have a negative outlook on things. I wouldn't say I have a completely positive outlook on things.
It's just kind of neutral.
I'm surviving. It's kind of neutral. I'm just vibing. Yeah.
And you were able to, again, like I said, write this song in some of the, I guess all your moments are quiet, but in some of your more reflective moments, you wrote the song Quarantine, and I will play it here again.
D-O-R-O-N-A, Corona. Listen to me, I'm trying to tell you the virus is right up there to get you. So wash your hands and stop touching each other.
The coronavirus is spread through the nation. Got so bad that it stopped education. The young and old and the brave and bold are all taught the value of sanitation. Got hand sanitizer on site. If you breathe on me, we gon' have to fight. Got so many vitamin C pills all in my system that I start to glow in the night.
Now I'm in quarantine for a while. Not another person in 20 miles. I need to see the stupid virus go away, so I can go outside and see the light of day. D-O-R-O-N-A, Corona. Listen to me, I'm trying to tell you the virus is right up there to get you. So wash your hands and stop touching each other. C-O-R-O-N-A, Corona. Listen to me, I'm trying to tell you the virus is right up there to get you. So wash your hands and stop touching each other.
Are you and your family seeking healthy mindsets, actions, relationships, knowledge, emotions, resources, and skills? Well, backed by popular demand, GC Scored presents RUMERTIME Family Summer Camp, a social emotional wellness program starting June the 14th to the 26th at the venue St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church, down to the roots.
You're listening to Access RUMERTIME Conversations, a bi-monthly podcast that focuses on 5 social emotional problem-solving strategies to help you become a conscious problem solver and an empowered life coach. Welcome back to the Access RUMERTIME Conversations podcast. Jonathon, are any of your other friends in quarantine in other parts of the U.S.?
Yes, the ones that I have kept in contact with from my ACA program are doing home quarantine. So it is a little bit different than my experience, but yes, they're all either finishing quarantine or are currently in quarantine.
Okay. And so do you guys have like a support group, quarantine support group, QSP?
Not exactly, but while we were in the ACA Florence program, we had an ACA chat that we spread all the information, current information that we'd need when chapel is, there's a change to dinner or anything. And we have kept that chat going. So even though we're not all together, we're all still sharing words of encouragement on the ACA chat, as well as our experience and other things.
Okay. And would you say that has been, how would you describe that experience in terms of the chat support group?
I feel like the chat support group is a positive thing that anybody in quarantine should look into. A few important things I feel that are important when you are in quarantine is one, your mental state. I think you should go into it not seeing this as a final destination. You are here, you're not here permanently. And that another thing is that you stay in contact with your friends, because although this is technically social isolation, it doesn't need to be a complete cutoff of all of your relationships. I think you need to make it a thing that you stay in contact with your friends, stay in contact with people who are going through the same thing as you, because it's uplifting and it shortens the time.
You're saying this is what people should do, to have a mindset of this is not your final destination. Secondly, stay in touch with and stay in contact with family and friends and encourage each other, because it makes the time go quicker.
Yes.
And what else? What other ways you can encourage people, help people to understand how to manage their thoughts and their interactions and their mindsets and emotions while they are in quarantine?
2 other things that I've focused on while I've been here is one, obviously your relationship with God while you are in quarantine.
Okay.
For me, I think it's a perfect opportunity for me to strengthen my relationship with God, because in the world there are lots of things to distract us and lots of events and people and things that would hinder us from growing our relationship with God. And in the Bible times, there were people who, went out in the desert and, ate locusts and honey as a form of isolation. But we don't need to do that. We have an opportunity now where we are, in our houses, in our own areas, and we are forced into a form of isolation. But we have our own bed, we have food, we have different luxuries. And I think that we need to take this time to strengthen our relationship with God. And I think that's one thing that's helped me, knowing that this is a perfect opportunity for me to realize things about myself and realize things about my relationship with God and how that can change.
Okay, good. And so taking the time to strengthen your relationship with God, And you also said there was another one.
Yes.
Is it just what's the
The
other
other
one?
one is find a hobby. Everybody has a
Okay.
different thing that they're into, a way to portray how they feel, an outlet for the emotions. And for me, it's music, but for other people, it may be art or writing or, maybe exercise. Maybe this is a time for you to exercise in solitude. But one thing that I've done that is another outlet is a form of videography, if that's where I document my time.
Oh, good. So like a vlog,
almost like a vlog,
a video log. Yeah.
I've vlogged myself every day, just like 30 seconds, how I feel today, what I ate, what I'm doing, tracking my emotions, because I think this would be a healthy thing for you to say out loud to yourself, as well as a healthy thing for you to look back on after this experience.
Exactly.
I think it's also healthy for other people if they want to see it, because a lot of times when you're alone for this length of time, you feel like you're alone. And I think that this would be a perfect opportunity for you to share your experience and offer comfort to people who, may not have that same luxury of friends or close family.
Exactly. Brilliant. These are really good strategies or techniques to manage one's thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions during the coronavirus and other types of societal challenges, health issues. When you find yourself in these types of isolating or social distancing environments, these are some really good tips. One is, I'm going to repeat them so people can write them down. One is, Jonathon says, to have the mindset that this is not a final destination. This is temporary. It is going to end. This too shall pass. The second mind management type of strategy that Jonathon suggested is stay in contact with friends and family. Use social media to keep you in touch with, so you're not, even though you may be physically isolated, you're not socially and or mentally isolated. So that's number two. The third one is strengthen it. Use this as an opportunity. Use your social distancing or quarantine time as an opportunity to strengthen your relationship with God. And also, you said to really get to know who you are even better. So become even more self-aware, what you're thinking, how you're managing and interacting with your challenge or your story at the moment. So building up your sense of self and building up your relationship with God. The third one is find a hobby, a way to express yourself, making sure that it is something that you enjoy, a way to get your emotions out, get your thoughts out, a way to express, right? And we know that rumor time, one of the plots in the rumor time is about expressing and reflecting. And so you're saying for you, music is that way, but also vlogging, which is creating small, mini videos about your time in quarantine. And again, you wrote that song, which is, I encourage everybody to listen to it outside of outside of this podcast. And you can find Jonathon's YouTube channel, and you will give me that information, Jonathon. What's your channels? What's the name of your channel?
JCWH Beats. JCW.
JCWH Beats, BEATS.
Yes, JCWH, all caps.
Okay.
Beats.
BEATS.
Yes.
Okay. So we will have that under the description, in the description, but his YouTube channel is JCWH Beats, and you can hear the song over and over. And for those of you who are in quarantine, remember these tips on how to manage your time in quarantine, how to manage your mind and your emotions and your thoughts and your interactions, what you're doing while you're in quarantine. Jonathon, what else would you like to leave with the listener? What else would you like to share?
Not much else, just a general message that if you are in quarantine,
Mm-hmm.
and don't see this as a disadvantage. Use this to
Okay.
your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that may mean to you, it varies between people, but
Mm-hmm.
use this as an advantage.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So mindset, basically, choose your mindset. Choose your attitude, and the good thing about humanity and humans is that we get to choose how we respond to situations that we face every single day. And your message, your overarching message then is manage your mindset, choose it and manage it, and find ways to express it that are constructive, productive, and even engaging and enjoyable. And use the time to reflect on your relationship with God, your relationship with yourself, and use the time to interact with family, friends, and loved ones, even at a distance. Well, Jonathon, I really enjoyed having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much.
And we may or may not have a follow-up to see. I know you said this is day 4. How you're doing? Maybe on day 8, and then we'll see how things are going. Again, thank you, and blessings
to you too.
You have been listening to the Access RUMERTIME Conversations podcast, where the time is always rumor time, where we equip you to solve your problems one rumor at a time, where we educate you to transform your stories one rumor at a time, and where we empower you to become your own life coach one rumor at a time. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.